What the hell is going on in the United Kingdom? I talked about this yesterday and maybe the day before. I don't know. This is ongoing coverage of their insane sensitive content ban, where they are now forcing every website, every app, whatever, if they have any objectionable content, you have to like do a facial scan or upload your ID or something. Like every single site, you know? And it's not just sites, right? It's like any site they're gonna have not safe for work content. That's like Twitter, Discord, that's an app, not a site, but you know what I mean. Reddit, you know, whatever, anything. Do you have a license for that? You have to actually like show your ID. Given the fact that the T app just got hacked and dropped all that information, you really want every single website that can potentially have objectionable content to have like your ID? It's not just pornography, by the way. I saw people complaining about how some of the content that was banned, unless you verified your ID that you're over 18 from the United Kingdom, included police brutality videos. That Twitter was like preemptively censoring anything that its algorithm identified as being objectionable, including things that were potentially violent. So, sorry, do you have a license to view that state brutality, that police brutality? No? All right. Truly sickening stuff. Yeah, the Online Safety Act. Crazy nanny state stuff. Exactly what we have to look forward to all over the world and in America, by the way, thanks to Visa, MasterCard, and the Republicans. I also saw this. I don't know what the hell is going on with this country, man, okay? This seems kind of like, this seems kind of marginal, but I want you to look at this and really engage with the information you're looking at, okay? Please? A poll done. Parents of young children are the most in favor of banning the sale of slushies to them. How do you feel about the idea of banning the sale of slushies to children? So this is a question. So these are asking people in the United Kingdom and then separating them based on the age of their children. Should it be illegal to sell slushies to children? Children, I assume, being under 18s. I assume they're going with or under 16s, right? Because that's the age of majority there. Yeah, under 16s. And then you see like, well, for parents whose children are under 5 years old, 5 to 10 years old, whatever. But you'll take a look, okay? The color distinctions are really bad here because don't know is the darkest red. But somewhat oppose and strongly oppose are dark gray and light red, respectively. In overall, for averaging across everyone, more than 50% of parents believe slushies should be banned, illegal, the state intervening to prevent the sale of slushies, versus only 15% who oppose. Does it specify the state intervening? They're talking about banning the sale. They're talking about a law. Like the frozen drinks? Yes, the frozen drinks, slushies. Here, slushies. Is this what prompted this? This only came out a week ago. Children under 7 should not drink slushies containing glycerol, says regulator. Food Standards Agency warned that drinks can cause decreased consciousness and low blood sugar. Really? A delicious, yummy treat can be bad for your health? Glycerol is a naturally occurring alcohol and sugar substitute that helps slushies maintain their texture by preventing liquid from freezing solid. Children become ill as a result of drinking slushies, develop glycerol intoxication syndrome, which causes symptoms such as decreased consciousness and low blood sugar. Children under 4 should not have slush ice drinks containing glycerol. Consumption should be limited to no more than 1 slushie a day for children aged between 5 and 10 years. Okay. Well, ban glycerol? I mean, sure, you can ban glycerol. Yeah. I also just wouldn't give a slushie to a 3-year-old. Like, if I had a 3-year-old child, I would simply not give them a slushie, and I would not give my 6-year-old child more than 1 slushie a day. It seems to me like, I don't know, it seems to me like there are probably comparable potential health detriments to a lot of the things that we consume. I don't think anyone's buying a slushie on the assumption that it's good for your health. Also, what, toddlers drinking a whole slushie? Yeah, seriously. How could anyone 4 or under even consume an entire slushie? They're like tiny. I don't know. Anyway, the point here isn't the slushies, right? It's the nanny state mentality. This is crazy to me. 52 to 15 like weighted difference. Like they did like that much, like plus what, 35? 37 plus 37 on the idea of banning slushies to children altogether. Just children. I don't know what, up to 16. I don't know. The United Kingdom is basically completely controlled by pensioners, right? I've noticed that a lot of the political discourse there centers around what makes unproductive 72-year-olds the most or the least happy. That winter fuel allowance, for example, that have you seen that word cloud? What are people most dissatisfied about labor governance over? And it's the winter fuel allowance, and it's this like marginal benefit thing, and the way they've structured their pension benefits will outscale the entire planet's GDP within a century or some their nanny state mentality in theory, not in practice, IMO. Well, you know, maybe not prior, but now, I mean, they certainly are, because the Online Safety Act right now is, do you have a license to see that police brutality? It's crazy. Pensioners are guaranteed a pension that matches inflation. That's crazy. I guess this is, you guys aren't concerned about the demographic crisis of lowered birth rates, but have you considered what the politics of a country where 80% of the population are over 50 might look like? Radical politics have always been driven by the young. You want everyone, all politics to be driven by how elderly people vote? There's a petition to get it repealed. Yeah, it's already more than doubled the number of signatures required. Parliament will consider this for a debate. Consider, of course. This is parents wanting the government to do their job for them. It really does make sense that the TERF movement would be based out of the United Kingdom, because that mentality is so pervasive there, right? It's like a total detachment from societal mores, from any engagement with the world around you, and an expectation that it's the state's responsibility to control absolutely everything and everyone through, you know, category bans and redefinitions. Did Vosh ever cover the Steam and itch.io not safe for work content ban? Yes, I did, and it relates perfectly to this, doesn't it? Kind of crazy both of those things would overlap. And that MasterCard and Visa content ban was prompted, you know, allegedly prompted by an Australian conservative group. So that's another Angloid country that's fronting this. We really do need a cultural resurgence of the value of free speech, man, because nobody's out there repping it. The right was only doing it disingenuously because their argument was like, you're anti-free speech if you want to ban Nazis for violating Twitter TOS. That was their whole argument. That was the whole only thing they cared about, was you're anti-free speech if you can ban people for violating TOS, right? I thought it was a swerf radfem group, not a conservative group. Tomato, tomato. These people are conservatives. Australia is a big nanny state, 100%. Yeah, we really there needs to be like a cultural resurgence, a return to form, an argument for. Pardon me for my lib shit behavior here, but an argument in favor of ideological liberalism as it applies to, you know, what we would consider constitutional rights, you know, the First Amendment or likewise, because nobody reps that shit right now. I mean, the liberals don't. Certainly the liberals, the Democrats aren't in favor of that. The Democrats would sign away so many of our political rights to expression to defend Israel. Look at what Biden did. Look at what the liberals did with Columbia U, with the student encampment protests, right? Manufacturing lies about them in order to crack down on student protesters. They're not ideologically in favor of free expression. I don't know, man. It's just really grim. I don't think we can ever have a resurgence of free speech in the true sense. Unfortunately, as long as the right exists, they'll always hop on it disingenuously. No, I think you can push back on that, man. I don't think that it's forever. No, I don't buy that. I think that's defeatist. That you can like forever cede the topic to them. I don't concede that. No, I don't believe in that. How's Sky News covering this?
As of today, the UK's internet has changed. There are strict new rules in place designed to put children's safety online at the heart of our scrolling. Ofcom's children's codes are now being enforced, and they'll change how adults can go online too.
For some services, this will mean putting in place highly effective age checks so that children can't access a service because fundamentally the service is not safe for children. So a pornography site, for example. For other services, this will mean other changes, such as making sure that their algorithms don't promote harmful content to children.
The most obvious change for adults overnight was this: new strict age verification. These new age checks should stop under 18s from accessing pornography.
Oh, I'm sure there's no way around that. People are like taking screenshots of Norman Reedus in Death Stranding and using them to get around the censors. Yeah. Oh, by the way, if you're an adult, have fun giving your private identification and all of your like relevant info to every single website that has any possible adult content on it. Steam, itch.io, Twitter, Reddit, Discord, any porn site, basically any social media site. Congratulations, every single one of them, all the time, your information right there up front. And if you think that shit's not getting sold, you're an idiot.
Sites and should stop them seeing pornography on their social media feeds. I'm going to try and get into the over 18 lobby. Yoti is one of the age verification systems many companies are now using to stop young people accessing inappropriate content. It uses AI to estimate users' ages and is precise enough.
Sounds like an extremely reliable way of protecting people. Yeah. It's insane. No one, whatever happened to like, man, I remember after 9/11, there were so many people, there was so much like libertarian adjacent online activism that was essentially, I was very young back then, but I remember even, what was I doing back in like 2002, 2003, I was playing StarCraft 1 online and like Diablo 2, the original Diablo 2. I was 8, yeah, I would have been 8 or 9. And I was kicking ass in those Siege Tank Tower Defense custom maps, okay? What was I saying? Oh yeah, but back then, like, my understanding was that basically everyone who was politically savvy understood that this "we have to protect the children" mantra was used by censorious conservatives who just wanted to have more control over your life. I swear to God, that was like the common sentiment for so long, you know? And at some point we just lost that. I don't know. Like, it's not even that I don't think there's issues with the accessibility of this content online. I do think there are issues. Just holy shit, this is obviously not the solution. It doesn't fix anything. It's crazy.
Enough that it can't even be tricked using masks or selfies.
I'm very surprised.
If you look under a certain age, e.g. 25, look going into a shop for alcohol, or into a website, maybe it's 21, then you have to do, an age check. So it's very much the same with computer age.
Except when you go in a liquor store and you show your ID, you're just showing it for like 2 seconds to somebody who goes, "Oh, okay," and then you can buy the alcohol. Whereas if you submit it to a website, you are now like entering it into an archived database where it's going to say it's stored there.
Estimation.
The idea behind these new age checks and algorithm changes is to stop teenagers stumbling across harmful content. At a youth club in Warrington, teenagers told us that was all too common.
If you go in and...
I just don't think that anybody who seriously pays attention to or cares about this issue genuinely believes that this is going to fix anything. They did the exact same thing with like parental controls, right? That was like a big thing for a while. They've done that with other forms of age verification. It's just, these are not solutions fundamentally. It doesn't fix it. Like, there is a country in, well, I guess could be broadly considered the West, or at least West adjacent, right? That bans pornography and requires online ID verification for basically everything. South Korea. It already exists. And South Korea is like the most virulently misogynistic fucking society that isn't Saudi Arabia or whatever. Like, their society is collapsing. It's not going to exist in 50 years because the birth rate is like -5 per woman, you know. It's completely fucked. And I guarantee you, over in South Korea, they have the exact same porn addiction issues as elsewhere. Like, it just fundamentally does not solve anything. It's worse, Lamau? Yeah, probably. I mean, these issues kind of compound, right? The more you make society sort of like divergent for men and women, the more you incentivize, I guess, like bad social behavior. Are there any things you think the government should be nanny with, like, for example, gambling? I'm not necessarily against bans on things that I think are harmful. For example, loot boxes, gacha gaming, gambling. There are things that I think you could like very legitimately apply the government's hammer to. But the difference is that in these cases, the bans are being directed against the thing that is being produced, not against like individual access to those things, which is just impossible to enforce online. it's a different approach, but it's a meaningfully different one. Like, look at all the bad externalities you're creating with these online panoptical systems that are designed to like regulate every single individual citizen's engagement with all online content. Whereas if you're just banning loot boxes, that's like a company side thing. You know, that's a directly exploitative thing. This VPN got a 1400% spike in signups with UK's new porn age restrictions. Yeah, of course. And then they'll ban, I don't know, VPNs or something, and there'll be a way around that, but most people will just have to, yes, Bezos, submit all their fucking personal information to every website they use always, and everything just sucks forever for everyone, and none of the underlying problems are fixed. And all the young people are still exposing themselves to bad content online because there's no way to actually prevent that, and it just makes it more desirable through this prohibition like strategy. You know, it's possibly worse content. It is true that like seedy websites are less likely to follow the UK's laws when it comes to checking people's IDs. So if like a young person wanted to go on like Twitter, sure, yeah, on Twitter you have to go through the whole rigmarole. But if they want to go on some like fucked up sites or whatever that they hear about at school, you know, that site's probably not bothered. They're registered in like Malaysia or something, and there's no way any like the UK's never going to get them to consent to, you know, fold legally
into an online space and you're expecting kind of simplicity and everything to be nice and tame, you're kind of going in quite naive because, you know, it's a very, very malicious place in the grand scheme of it.
So I do think there should be more restrictions in that, and the report and block system needs to be better.
Respectfully, well, okay, the report and block system should be better in general, no matter what the website is. I also don't really care that much about the opinions of children on this. It's not really, they're not really fully familiar with like the policy ramifications, right? We're not really talking about, you know, what are we talking about here?
Personally, I think it's a good idea to have more restrictions because, especially for like children younger than us, there's some things that are so accessible.
The government has described these rules as the biggest step forward in children's safety online since the creation of the internet.
Jesus Christ. Oh, I didn't even notice. Look at the likes to dislikes on this. I can't imagine this is going to be particularly popular with the citizenry. You know, considering how annoying it must be to be a UK citizen and have to like individually log your identity with every single website. Like, Jesus Christ.
But for families who have already lost children because of online harm, the regulations don't go far enough. Ellen's
Really? What do you suggest?
son, Jules, died when he was 14 after he was thought to have watched harmful content online.
That is so vague and real. That, not that I'm asking you for more details, but that's so vague that it's completely impossible to derive any kind of information from.
Jules was incredibly smart.
Watched a Vosh stream and died of cringe? Maybe.
Funny, but had a very quick wit. He should be 18 on Sunday, and he's not. And that's particularly hard. People always think, well, that's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to my child.
Hate to be an ass, but maybe she should have been a better mother. I don't want to say that because I have no idea what the details are here. I will say that it does really position me against the mother here, though, that her response to the tragedy of her son dying is to say, this insanely censorious anti-free speech law should be made more censorious and more anti-free speech. Like, to allow yourself to be used to serve that agenda makes you, in my mind, very unsympathetic, at least politically, not really in the context of your parenting. Fucking sucks.
And actually, the more we talk about it, it could be your child. I didn't expect it to be my child. Didn't cross my mind at all.
She doesn't just want changes to algorithms or age blocks on pornography. She wants the minimum wage for all social media users to be raised to 18 years old.
I think at 16, you've still got pretty innocent young children watching things they shouldn't see. And we're saying porn sites are 18, yet you can go on social media at 16 and see things like that you shouldn't be seeing. How are those... Where's the similarity in those rules? It's ridiculous.
I actually think that's more defensible in a way than what's being done now. Having some kind of across the board, no matter what, age restriction to internet usage that isn't trying to like let the government define what sensitive content is. That seems more like defensible to me. I don't know. The most charitable version of this that could exist would be some kind of like anonymous token that the government assigns people. That's that the government knows. The government doesn't know who it corresponds to, but they're assigned at birth. They're assigned based on like age, and then that's the token that you use to operate devices or something like that. Like, yeah, like a cryptographic kind of way. Your government NFT, your blockchain, whatever. So the government could never use that information to find out who you are, nor could any website. But it does keep track of the age of that token, so that you would, like, if you're like 10 years old or whatever, you couldn't use it to use a social media site. What I'm describing right now is probably impossible, okay? I'm sure there's a million ways to get around that. So I acknowledge that fact. But if you were going to do some kind of across-the-board internet censorship thing, I think it would be much better to do it just flat out like, nope, you're young, you shouldn't be worried about that, goodbye, you know. As opposed to like trying to reason out what sensitive content is, because as soon as the government gets involved in that, there's so much potential for, sounds like a thing, but people could just share the number, right? Yeah, I'm sure it's such a complicated question, and I don't know nearly enough about net coding or internet security or anything like that, or cryptography, so I can't really, I'm only talking about like ideologically, I think that would be a bit of a cleaner case. I do think it'd be kind of cool if the internet wasn't like really accessible to people who are like 10, except for stuff like Club Penguin or maybe some things that are whitelisted. Like maybe the government could say, okay, here are some like internet things that are fine for young people. Go play Toontown, go play Club Penguin, you know, whatever. And then you can get into the real internet, but still be careful when you're 13 or something. I don't know. You can use like YouTube Kids, but not YouTube. But what I'm describing is probably logistically impossible. So I don't know. What if you're a 10-year-old living in a shithole who needs the internet for support? I really don't want to come across as callous, but I'm probably willing to bet that more 10-year-olds' lives are ruined by being exposed to bad environments online than there are 10-year-olds who have been saved by like if they're like a queer kid in a conservative community, being able to go online at 10 specifically to like know that their identity doesn't make them like a demon or something, right? But maybe like, okay, if you were a young queer kid in an unsupportive environment, do you think it would be possible that going on a place like Toontown or Wizards 101 or whatever could improve your life? Like if you like getting that just little bit of exposure, that little bubble out of the conservative community that you're in, just knowing there are other people out there with different perspectives. You know what I mean? Like even if you couldn't really do much there or see much, I feel like even that would be really helpful. I think the internet has the potential, still I believe in this, the potential to be very liberatory, you know, and improve people's lives and make them happier and give them exposure to ideas that can benefit them and such and such. But like, there is definitely an issue right now with your 10-year-old goes on the wrong forum and is now a neo-Nazi. That's like a real problem, you know? Wouldn't you have to prevent adults from accessing those sites? Yeah, if you were doing this like age-based token thing, sure, you would do it in both ways, right? Or you would have separate servers, I guess, because there are going to be people who turn 13 and then still want to play Toontown, I guess. So then it would be like, oh, now you've been moved to these servers. You keep your gear. I don't know. I never played Toontown. I don't know if there's gear. I don't know if you keep your longsword +2 or whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Longsword +2 is actually pretty powerful. Can we just fix this by giving kids under a certain age dumb phones? I think parents should do that. Like, I fully believe that. If you're a parent and you have like a young kid, I don't think you should be giving them an iPad or an iPhone. Like, you should be giving them a dumb phone or whatever. Make sure they can text and call you or whatever. But like, yeah, I don't know. We need to bring that shit back. Because I can't imagine the fucking mental damage you must incur as a 10-year-old having unrestricted access to the internet. That sounds fucking terrifying, man. Because the internet's very different. The internet used to have like, that was structured very differently, okay? When I was 10 years old, what was I on? I was on fucking like Newgrounds all the time. I was on Newgrounds. That was the shit I was on, right? When I was 10, could I have accessed like porn sites? Probably, but I didn't care. Like, I was on Newgrounds. You know, it was, why would I, what a waste of time. You know? Newgrounds was a porn site though? No, Newgrounds like probably had porn on it. I wasn't looking at that shit. I was looking at Madness Combat, motherfucker. You people, your focus is too narrow. Just saying, like, I feel like the internet is potentially a lot more malicious these days. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. Maybe it was just as bad back then, and I'm sort of idealizing my experience, but I have no idea. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I can't imagine this law is going to stick around that long in the United Kingdom, because I get the feeling it's overwhelmingly unpopular. It's probably popular exclusively with pensioners who don't use the internet anyway, or at least don't use it very much. We may need to ban smartphones for children. Well, I am a massive advocate, for one, of not giving that content to a kid that you have, and also schools should take your phones away the whole time that you're in school. Like, if there's an emergency, your parent can call the school and direct that to you as necessary. There's absolutely no reason why a student needs a phone in school. None. Zero. In class, yeah, I don't even think they should have between classes. But if we must restrict it to just no phones in classes. We have laptops in schools now? Yeah, that's bad. It's all going to come back to pen and paper anyway, because of the chat GPT epidemic, right? Everyone's cheating on their goddamn exams. It's a little unenforceable. I think it could be enforced. Make schools a Faraday cage? Yeah, why not? Well, I'm assuming they're using lockdown browsers, right? I don't think you should have access to a browser when you're in class. I don't think you should have any distractions in it. I don't think there should be anything in there that is a screen. I think that you should have the teacher and you have a notebook and a pen. And if that's difficult for you attention span wise, then that's kind of the point. Like, you're there to learn. No internet for research? Why would you need research in a class? You're in the class being taught. What are you researching? You're being given the lecture by the... You have the book, and you're being given the lecture by the teacher. If you want to do research on a computer, you can do it out of class. For projects? I don't understand what you're referring to. Projects you're completing in... Listen, I did projects in class without computer. You're talking to a guy who never had a computer in class, okay? I don't understand. You need it for projects. No, you don't. What are you talking about? I did projects in class. You have the book. You have the notes. What do you mean? If there's something that requires a computer, then it can be homework. You do it at home. For computer lab? Yes, in computer lab, you have the computer in front of you, obviously. What do you think I'm going to say? What do you think I'm going to respond with? No, they have to take the computers out there too? Obviously, yes, the computer lab is the place where the computers are fine. Sure, but look at how you turned out, Vosh. Fair point, fair point. Well, that and laptops, they need to write papers. You know, you can write papers like this. I know we've forgotten this skill. You can do it like that. Seems weird for schools to teach kids an outdated form of research. I don't know what you're talking about. You have a textbook. The textbook has the information. If you want to do research that's outside the purview of what's contained in the textbook or the lectures, then you can do that at home. In computer class, maybe they can teach you how to do research, but how do people do research these days? Punch it into ChatGPT? I don't understand what's being missed. The textbook is probably outdated. Can you refer to something specific here? The point of the textbook is not to have the most up-to-date information. We're talking about elementary, middle, and high schoolers. You're not researching the cutting edge of the topic. The goal is to teach critical thinking skills and build a foundation of information upon which you can construct like more in the future, you know? Why do you not want kids to have Chromebooks in class? Because it's distracting! This lets schools dictate how they learn topics like slavery, and how's that turned out? See, this is exactly my point. If the school that taught you had learned the lessons that I'm trying to teach right now, you wouldn't be as deficient as you are right now. What the fuck are you talking about? Bro, we need computers in class, otherwise we might get taught slavery wrong. What are you talking about? We know for a fact that having screens in the classroom distracts people. Everyone is fucking contracted ADHD from the fact that they're on the screens, you know, 23/7. We need to be past it. People, they bring their phones in the shower. They have their phones when they're on the toilet. They're on their fucking computers watching YouTube when they're eating. Everyone's on their screens all the time. People have no ability to engage with information and dictate and learn and critically engage unless they're doing it through the format of a phone. Vosh is right. Got a laptop for the second half of my last school year. Didn't learn a single thing after that. Certainly didn't remember. It's also been shown that writing notes makes you remember the stuff more than typing notes. Not that you motherfuckers are typing notes into your Chromebooks. Like, why lie to me? Why pretend you people are using laptops for knowledge in school? Come on. You think I'm that naive? What do you think I am, your parent? Like, I'm going to buy that? Oh, yeah, we're using it to learn in class. God, sorry, I'm a little more worldly than that, okay? Don't fucking lie to me. Come on. There are no textbooks? There should be textbooks. Are you seriously using a chatter's anecdotal data to support your point? Yes, but if they disagreed with me, then I would ignore it. People are making excuses for their bad behavior over and over again. Look, I'm not blaming the kids in school for being inattentive. I'm just saying that, you know, I think that, I think we're just letting kids down, man. We have an educational crisis in this country. We have an attention span crisis in this country. It's pretty bad. Nobody knows anything. Nobody remembers anything. I've covered that, Alex Karras. Yeah, the New York state of New York is banning cell phones. Wait, banning cell phone bans? Oh, I didn't know that. Maybe I haven't covered that. No, sorry. Are they banning bans? Are they banning the cell phones? Because banning cell phone bans is crazy. They're banning cell phones. Okay, then I have covered it, and I agree with it. Okay, so if I'm banning cell phone bans would be crazy. I just don't think people learn that well from the internet, man. Not in the way it is now. Like there are websites that are great for learning, but learning is really educating yourself is a difficult process that a lot of people don't like. What people like is watching informational YouTube video essays where you get an entertaining, well-delivered package of data that you instantly forget about because it was just entertaining to consume and you got to pat yourself in the back while watching it for like learning the stuff. In reality, like physical exercise, learning something, improving yourself requires a bit of suffering. You know, education means you have to take notes. It means you have to do follow-up questions. You have to engage meaningfully, and that's often it's just not as easy as, well, the most convenient way to consume information. Learning how to learn is not easy. No, it's not. It's not easy for anyone. It's not easy for me. It's not easy. It's not easy for anyone. And I think that when people pat themselves on the back for being very like easy learners, they're self-reporting a little bit, you know? Like if a person told you, dude, exercise is easy, and you couldn't see their body, you're only like looking at the text online. I don't know. I think that, or like losing weight is easy. Maybe that's a better one. When a person tells me something like, dude, losing weight is easy, like what it tells me is that you've never engaged with losing weight in the context that other people struggle with. You don't have respect for the process. Maybe you've had an easy time, but were you losing water weight? Are you like 18 years old, so you're losing weight like with a very fast metabolism? Have you tried losing weight as a 240-pound 30-year-old? It's not always easy. Likewise, learning isn't always easy. Anyway, I'm not trying to patronize anyone. It's a very difficult subject. You can memorize an educational video if you find it interesting. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with learning things from YouTube video essays. I just think that people are I think that people are hungry for information. I think that humans generally like learning, but we're very susceptible to things that are entertaining, and we often conflate the two. And unfortunately, much like with exercise, you know, educating yourself, learning something about the world, it's not always most effective to engage with it in the easiest way possible. You know, like sometimes you can be really interested in the subject, but learning isn't just engaging with it as it's presented to you, right? It's reaching out and trying to grab that information and, like, you know, pull it in. It requires work. But if you make a person feel like they've satiated themselves with information in the easiest way possible, I think that can risk making a person lazy, or make them less inquisitive, right? Less curious. because then they're thinking like, oh, that wasn't that hard. You know what I mean? I can learn anything from YouTube video essays. That's why I've always encouraged people to watch my content. Like, I think this is a informative platform. It's infotainment. I think that it does a good job at both. But never ever like think that you've gotten the full read on a topic just because I've talked about it. Even because I've talked about it extensively. You have no idea what I could be wrong on or biased on, or maybe I've arrived at some conclusions that make sense to me based on the information that I have. But if you learn something about it, you would have a different perspective on it. Not even necessarily saying I'm wrong, but more that just it's not always a complete understanding of the topic, you know, different ways of engaging with it.